All right, so just like we talked about, we have I is equal to the square root of -1, and I squared is equal to -1. So what we're going to do next is simplify and find square roots of negative numbers. So when we are doing these square roots, you can look at these examples down here. If you have the square root of a negative number, when you pull out that negative number, you get an I. Right? If you have the square root of -1 and we think about breaking it down, we know that -1 is I times I. So that means we have a pair of i's and we can bring the I outside of the square root. Okay, so let's do some examples. So for example A, we have the square root of -25. So now anytime you have a negative square root, this is what you should do. First, pull out the negative. Okay, so we have -1 and 25. Now with your negative pulled out, we know that -1 is I times I. So we're going to have our I times I. And then 25 is 5 times 5. And those are as far as we can break those down. Now since we're doing a square root, we're looking for groups of 2. So we have a group of 2 i's and a group of 2 5's. So we're going to pull out a 5 and an I, and then there's nothing left under our square root, so our answer would be 5i. Okay, so let's look at our next example. Next, we have the square root of -72. So again, first step, pull the negative out, because then our negative we know is I times I. And now all we have to do is break down 72. So 72 we could do 8 times 9. And then 8 is 4 times 2. 4 is 2 times 2. And 9 is 3 times 3. So again, we're looking for groups of 2. So we have a group of 2 i's, a group of 2 2's, and 2 3's. And then we have 1 2 left over. So we're going to pull out a 2, a 3, an I, and then our 1 2 that's left over stays under the root. So our answer, 2 times 3 is 6, I root 2. That would be our simplified version of the square root of -72. Okay, and now let's look at C. So C, this time we have a -5 on the outside, and then the square root of -9. So again, we're going to pull out our -1, and then we have 9. Now we can break down 9 to be 3 times 3. And -1, again, is I times I. So when we look for groups of 2, we have a group of 2 i's and a group of 2 3's. So we already have our -5 on the outside. Now we're going to pull out a 3 and an I. So we're going to get -5 times 3 is 15i as our answer for that one. Okay, so I want you guys to try these monitoring progress questions, and then in the next video, I will give you the answers.